wherever feels good for you. And there's no expectation in this practice for you to have yogic breath or breath with sound of any kind as we go through the practice, unless it's good for you. So you can just let your breath be normal and let it be a guide for you throughout your full flow today with me. We're going to focus on hips. So the class is designed, well, I guess for anyone that practices yoga or practices any sport. And often a lot of the people that come to my yoga practice or my classes, hips are usually where we hold a lot of strain, stress, tension. They're often known as the kind of emotional center of the body, but the actual structure of the hip, or the hip area, the pelvis, it does a lot. So we're going to work through all the different movements within that particular area today to try and bring your awareness to maybe where you could open a little bit, where you're already really comfortable, and maybe a couple of areas that you didn't even know existed. So as you're sitting here, just listening to my voice, start to tune into your breath. You can breathe in through the mouth or the nose, breathing out through the mouth or the nose. And it might be unusual as we go through the practice tonight that I won't be speaking or giving you instructions throughout the full practice. I'll guide you into the pose, I'll give you options, and I'll guide you out. But I'll allow you to feel the pose, the hold, as we go through the practice. Yin is all about feelings. How do you feel it? Where do you feel it? What's it telling you about your body? Where's it challenging you? Where's it not so challenging? So asking yourself those questions, or just asking yourself, how do I feel in a pose, is the best way to understand the yin tissues of the body. So as we allow the rhythm of our breath to wash over us, trying to let go of any tension that we might be holding in the forehead, around the eyes, the cheekbones, the mouth, the jaw, relaxation of the tongue, awareness of the feeling down the neck towards the shoulders, maybe just allowing the arms to be a little heavier. Following that breath as it comes in, all the way down into the body, down through the front and the back of the body towards the pelvis. Relieving any tension in the hips. Maybe creating some space in the knees and the ankles. Just allowing yourself to settle. We often see our existence through our head, our eyes, our ears, our senses. I want you to take your senses inwards, in towards your heart center, or even your heartbeat, tuning into your tune, your life. And as you take yourself inwards towards the heart, visualize a glowing ember, the ember of a fire, about to go out in your heart space. And every time you breathe out, you're breathing life into that ember. So just take yourself inwards, blowing on the ember, bringing it to life. And as you blow onto that ember, bring the intention for your practice into that breath. And use that ember to bring that intention alive and let it grow with warmth, with kindness. And if you find your mind wanders, just come back to blowing on the ember, blowing love and kindness into your intention, letting that radiate out. And then as you leave the ember glowing in your heart space, start to bring that attention back into the upper body, bringing the awareness back to the sounds in the room and around you, the feeling of the space that you're in on the body. Coming back to that subtle rise and fall of the chest and the collarbone. Maybe even the rise and fall of the belly. And then slowly opening your eyes, allowing the light of the room to come in towards the eyes. Maybe blinking. It's not quite sunny here, but it's still bright. And then we're just going to release off because we've been sitting for over 5 minutes. So just take your hands backwards, tuck the tailbone forwards, take your feet out of cross-legged or wherever you were sitting. Take the feet roughly hip width apart, and we're just going to allow the knees to fall to one side. So windshield wipers, internal and external rotation of the hips. Can feel really nice when we've been sitting cross-legged for a little bit. I in particular really like this. I include it now any time I've done a kind of seated breath work, because it really helps me, especially on the outside of my right hip. So just allow it to come side to side. If you're on a block, maybe moving that out of the way, giving yourself free movement. And then just come to seated. Take the legs out in front if you can. We're going to talk a little bit about flexion, which is as soon as you sit down and sit with a straight back, you're already at a 90-degree angle, or for most people, not for everyone. Some people really struggle. They want to lean back. They don't have the ability to sit up straight. So you've got a couple of options for your first pose that we're going to come to. You can sit in caterpillar, so the legs are straight out in front. Ankles are nice and loose, nice and released. You can sit up really tall. Arms can be relaxed on the thighs. And if you have that natural ability to fall forwards, you can allow the body to sink in itself, rounding through the back into caterpillar. If this doesn't feel good for you, it feels like it's straining, or you feel like you can't sit forward, put something under your bum. So give yourself a lever or leverage underneath the hips and slide off it as if you're going to fall forwards. If this isn't quite enough for you, you can take your feet wider towards a straddle, and you can sit up and then start to take some weight in between. But you're rounding into the back all the time. So this is us coming past our 90-degree angle. So we're already taking this forward fold a little deeper. If this still doesn't feel good for you, you could grab your props. You could put something in between, hug in, and just lean your head on so that you're still in a forward fold, but you're much higher. So you don't need to be taking the weight of the body. Going to be here for about 3 minutes in this first hold. So finding where's right for you. Laura, if this is sore on your ankle or too much pressure on the ankle, you can also take a bolster underneath the hips, sitting on it, rolling backwards and letting the legs go up, because ultimately this is still a forward fold as the front of the body comes down to meet the legs, or the legs come up to meet the torso of the body. So finding where's right for you. This will relieve any tension in your ankle. It also feels quite nice. Otherwise, connecting to your breath. In Yin Yoga, we're trying to find our cliff edge, but we don't want to go over it. So we want to feel stress in the yin tissues of the body, so the joints, the bones, the ligaments, the tendons, different from the yang tissues. So as you're here, there's no alignment. So anyone who's a yogi who practices yoga, in yin, there's no alignment. You're letting the body fall naturally, curving into the back. Feels like we're slumping. So as you're here, ask yourself, what are you feeling, or how are you feeling it? Where are you feeling it? And if you need props, use them. Connecting with that breath, your companion for this journey. If at any point you get pins and needles, your back gets sore from being slouched over, curling, you can breathe in nice and tall, taking a breath, and then allow yourself to fold forwards again. And then as we consider coming out of the pose or the hold, using the breath throughout. So remembering to breathe as we come in and breathe as we come out. Don't hold your breath at any points. That causes tension in the muscles. So maybe as you breathe in, you pull the arms back towards the body. The back will straighten slightly. Breathing out there. Breathing in again. Just feeling that rebound of energy. You might not feel it this time, but you might feel the beginnings of it, the release of energy from being in a compressed or compression that allows the blood to kind of flow back in. I find it always really refreshing after a forward fold to take a nice breath at the top. So as we breathe here, you could lean back again into the hands, maybe bringing the knees up, just taking the hips side to side. So working into that internal and external rotation. We're going to go through about 7 holds in the practice today. Most will be held for about 3 minutes. Some will be held a bit longer because we'll have to work into both sides. And there'll be a few options as we go through. So from here, make your way down onto your belly. You can grab your bolster, Laura, for this as well, possibly. So we're going to come to a couple of options, and then I'll give a slightly stronger option. We shouldn't say stronger, but maybe a slightly more fiery option. So you can come to Sphinx pose. So onto the forearms. They can be a bit wider than your shoulders. We're not in a normal yoga practice. Hands can be relaxed at front. You can allow, so push down into the forearms. You can have your head up. You can be holding the head up, creating a compression into the lower back or an extension into the hips, taking the pelvis closer to the back of the legs. If this doesn't feel comfortable, let the head drop. Allow yourself just to be held here as the body falls down towards the ground, belly touches the floor. If you want something a little bit more challenging, you could come to seal. So taking the hands out towards the side of the mat, lifting that upper body up, holding here. We're really trying to switch off the glutes, the quads, the legs, all the way down to the toes. They're doing nothing. If you're kind of halfway between Sphinx and seal, you could take a bolster or a cushion underneath and lean, so you're getting a little bit of height, but your chest is leaning into the bolster. Gives you a little bit more space. And again, just breathing here, head can be nice and relaxed. So the yin tissues of the body like to be stressed from cold, from stillness. Our yang tissues, so the blood, the muscles, the skin, they activate, grow strong, develop through movement and heat. The yin tissues are different. I always say I do yin so that when I'm 90 or older, I can still get out of bed and I can tie my shoes. It allows you to build strength deeper into the body. So again, as you're here, ask yourself, where are you feeling this? Where do you feel compression? Where do you maybe feel tension? Can you allow the body, give it permission to sink? I call it falling into space, trusting that you won't fall forever, that you can sink a little deeper into a posture. And if at any point something becomes uncomfortable, you have a way out. Allow the head and shoulders to drop. Take yourself down to Sphinx. Or take the elbows out, take your body all the way to the floor. You don't have to hold anything in pain. We're always looking for the cliff edge, but we don't want to go over. We don't want to be hanging on the other side of the cliff. So I've got images of, I think it was Sylvester Stallone in the movie Cliffhanger. We don't want to be him. We want to be on the other side, looking down at him. Seal does get quite juicy on the lower back and the hips. So start to take yourself down, whatever position you're in. If you need to move the bolster out of the way, just rolling it to the side. Taking the belly down onto the mat. Maybe taking the elbows nice and wide. If you want to, you can lean one side of your cheek, either looking to the left or the right. As you breathe out, allow the armpits to just sink into the floor. Allow that front body to sink. And then if you do have one side of the face down, just take it to the other view. So turn the other cheek. So that we allow both sides of the neck and the head to have an opportunity to release. And then we're going to lift ourselves back up. So do it as gently as you can, as softly as you can, maybe just pushing up to all fours. Holding all fours, so knees roughly underneath hips, hands underneath wrists. So we're in a tabletop position. We're just going to push down into the floor for cat's breath. So breathing out, pushing into cat. Push the spine up towards the ceiling, tucking the chin and the tailbone just gently. Breathing in, let it come back to neutral. We're not going to go all the way to cow, so just let it come to neutral. Breathing out to cat. Breathing in, back to neutral. Last one, breathing out to cat. Breathing in, back to neutral. And then taking yourself down onto your bottoms. We're going to come to butterfly, half butterfly, or square. So butterfly for me is one of my favorite yin poses. It's, if you do yoga, it would be known maybe as Baddha Konasana or bound angle, but rather than having your heels right up beside the body, take them out in front. So you create a diamond shape. Then you can adjust whether that's too far or too close still. But you don't want any pressure in the ankles, the knees, or the hips. If you need to, you can pop a bolster or cushions at either side. Give them something to lean into, especially if you get sore on the outside of your knees in this position. Laura, you have the option to go to the wall, which I'll show you in a moment as well. This will relieve any pressure into your ankle and allow the feet to sink, because as you come forward, it might be uncomfortable. But for everyone else, we're going to do a few rotations here. So just do a few kind of circular movements in towards the front, feeling the chest come forward. How does this feel for you, just doing this? Is there any tension building up at the back of the thighs in towards the internal kind of internal rotation of the inner thigh? If it feels uncomfortable, don't come into full butterfly. If it does feel comfortable for everyone else, start to take the body forward, maybe taking the forearms down onto the feet or onto the shins. It depends on your body to where you could reach. It might even be that they don't even make it to the floor and you're curling into this lovely diamond shape that you've created. If this is feeling really uncomfortable, take one foot straight, whether it's the left or the right. Take the foot straight. Pull the sole of the opposite foot in towards the inner thigh and fold into the middle. Allow that straight leg to release. Laura, if you get any pain in your ankle, you can take yourself to the wall. Now, the most difficult bit is getting the legs up the wall correctly, and anyone can do this if you have a wall space. Allow the feet to come together, allow the knees to come down, taking the hands nice and wide like a Y. This should relieve any pressure in your ankle. But for anyone that has any pain in the knees, in particular, this is a really nice version. If you suffer from sciatica or you're feeling a twinging or pinching or uncomfortableness through the hip joint, maybe try taking yourself to the wall. So being honest with yourself in the particular pose, allowing yourself to be comfortable, using props where needed. The most difficult bit about getting your bum to the wall is you've got to slide in sideways so that your side hip touches first. Then shimmy your bum and legs around. Otherwise, there's a small gap between your bum and the wall. Otherwise, check in with the breath. Is it still calm? So the first rule, but it's not a rule. The first guide to Yin Yoga is appropriate depth. So finding that cliff edge. Where do you feel it, but without going over the edge? The second principle is stillness. So once you find the cliff edge, can you just hold there? Allowing the body or giving it permission to fall into the space that you've created. When you do, your breath can be a guide. Allow it to stay calm, and the body will stay calm. Allow the breath to be calm, and often the mind will stay calm. Again, we're curving into the spine. This is maybe the second time we've done this, so if it's feeling uncomfortable, you can breathe in nice and tall, straight and through the chest and the back. Breathing out, taking yourself back down. I notice nobody did half butterfly, so we've got about another 30 seconds here. So I'll talk to those that are up against the wall first. Just allow the legs to come down. Allow them to come down to one side so that you can kind of curl onto your side as the legs come down to the floor. In a kind of fetal position. And just holding there for a few breaths. For everyone else, you can start to breathe in, lifting the body up, or maybe just moving the arms back towards yourself. Breathing throughout. Breathing as you come to sitting. Those that were on your side, you can roll to a seat if it's comfortable to do so. Your knees that are out, don't just pull them up with the leg strength. Take your hands either side of the knees, squeezing them up. Use your hands to pull them up. Don't hurt the inner workings of the thigh. Then we're going to do some windshield wipers again. Old favourite, but maybe you want to take it down onto your forearms if you have the movement. It can feel quite nice after you've been in butterfly to take it a little bit lower into the forearms, side to side, rolling through the sacrum, either side of the pelvis. You can hold out on one side, hold out on the other, just doing what feels nice in between. And then watch the options that I'm going to give, because there's going to be 3 possible options for this next pose. We will be working different sides of the body, so we will have a transition period halfway through. If you want to, the first option is both legs. It's happy baby, but in a much more relaxed, or 2 possible relaxed ways. So happy baby, you come down onto your back, let the knees come out towards the armpits. You can hold onto the feet and just allow both legs to pull down towards the floor. This can get quite intense. The nicer or more gentle version is to take your hands behind your thighs, behind the knees, interlace the fingers, and just squeezing the arms here so that they don't go too far. It's a more gentle way of doing this. This can get really intense. And I'm going to give you another option rather than doing this. So take the hands behind. This would be option 1. Option 2 will be to pop a little cushion or a pillow, nothing too high, underneath your bum and lower back. Let the legs stretch away. Pull one knee in towards the body and do one leg, happy baby, pulling into the back of the thigh, allowing it to fall out to the side. Or we're going to do a reclined dragon. So taking the outside of one foot, pulling it up, pulling the knee down towards the floor, letting that other hand come out to the side. So this would be a slightly more intense. We're going to hold it for 3 minutes on either side. So do what feels right for you. Come to happy baby first, taking the hips up, taking the hands behind the legs. Allow the legs to to kind of crunch over your forearms. And just allow gravity. Close your eyes. Enjoy. Or maybe take both hands to the feet. Again, you can take yourself to the wall. Laura, if you want a slightly stronger, but without going full one leg dragging upside down, take it to a kind of happy baby with one leg, maybe pulling that knee in towards the armpit or reaching the leg up. Wherever you are, come into those poses of your choice. Happy baby is always a favourite of mine. And again, just asking yourself, what do you feel? We're trying to hold this for time. So the third principle, in order to stress the yin tissues, it has to be held for a certain amount of time in a stressful way. Not so stressful that you can't maintain stillness, though. And remember, you have a get-out clause. You can always take it down a level. Often we go in at 100%, then we regret it. So allow the breath to be your guide. Yin for me is a very personal journey on the mat. It's a very internal journey as well. I take myself to the areas. I breathe into that space when I'm there. I watch my breath. And if I don't watch my breath, it's often a sign that it's got out of control and I'm somewhere I shouldn't be. So as we come to the halfway mark, if you're doing one leg, you're going to swap over and do the other leg. If you're in happy baby, you might wish to change the happy baby option. Whether that's taking it up or taking it down. So we're working into abduction at the moment. And abduction is the spreading of the legs. We're often allowing the femur to come towards the pelvis, or what I think I remember is called the ilium joint, to the top part. And the reason I chose hips for my class was because no matter what class I teach, even my own practice, there's always some part of my hip area, pelvis, top of the leg, lower back, abdomen. It just doesn't quite do as much as other parts. So it's interesting to find out where we hold tension, where our lives interfere with what we do. Yin is great for people who do sports, so any type of sport really. It helps strengthen the inner workings, the yin tissues. If you're hypermobile, you need to do more strength training in order to offset yin, because yin's really easy for you. Your body can just collapse. So it's that mix or that balance between yin and yang. What we do in our life affects our bodies. What we do in the yoga mat or in the sports world affects our body. Yin can bring the balance. It's helped me with my Ashtanga as well, making me stronger within the joints, not just the twists in the muscles. So again, as we come to the end of this, wherever you are, taking the feet down to the floor, letting the soles of the feet touch, knees up to the sky. Just take the hands out in a V shape, just breathing here. Static back press, letting the lower back push down into the floor. Allowing the quad muscles or the hip joint to realign itself, or that feeling of realignment. Then squeezing the knees together. Squeeze them into the chest. Wrap your hands around. Lift your head and shoulders off. Curl yourself up into a little ball. Hug yourself in really nice and tight, pulling yourself together. Just moving slightly on your spine, maybe side to side, backwards and forwards. Just gently pulling yourself back together. Okay. From here, you're just going to rock yourself maybe to a seat. So just gently rocking or rolling on the back so that your feet come forward. I'm going to give you a couple of options here. So we're going to come to internal rotation, or internal rotation of the hips. So with our back of the hip rotates around to the front. And I'm going to give you a few options. I have a favourite here, but I'll wait to show that one last. There's a reclining twist, which is a little bit more intense. It's almost like Garandasana with your legs, or eagle pose with your legs. So I'll show that one last. The first one is half butterfly with frog leg. So you can take one leg out in front. You might wish to have a cushion underneath your bum, so there's no pressure on the underside of the front foot. I'm starting with my right, which would be your left leg, taking the right back. So it's like a frog. And as you fold forward, we're rotating into this hip joint, coming forwards. If this is really uncomfortable for you, especially on that leading away leg, take it away and come to deer pose, my new favorite pose. So deer pose, you're bending into this front knee, leg coming back towards the thigh of the opposite leg. You can adjust the feet here to where's comfortable for you. You can fold into the middle, usually quite relaxed. You can take the front leg out a little bit, and you can fold over the leg towards the front, which is going to work into a bit of a swan feeling or pigeon pose. But you want, wherever you are, as you rotate forward, you rotate into that back leg coming forwards. Just allow yourself to sink here. Again, if you've taken that front leg too far, pull it back in towards the body. Allow that rotation to come forward into this space. For anyone that wanted the twist, I don't think anyone does. You're taking one, we'll start with the left knee over the right, taking that right foot down, taking it over. It's quite an intense twist, but it's quite a nice twist. So this is an option if you wish. Laura, deer pose is definitely better for you with the bolster as well for your ankle. Deer pose is definitely a favourite of mine, both knees bent. So Vivian, I don't know if you can see fully, but you kind of come down as if you're coming into a pigeon pose or swan, but take the foot back towards your body, and rather than your foot stretched out behind, pull that knee in towards the sole of the foot. It's kind of like a diamond shape into your body. The back leg leads away slightly, and you fold forwards. So it's a bit like a baby swan. And again, here it's just you and your body in your breath. And then breathing to lift yourself up. If you were in kind of half butterfly frog pose, just lean to the side, bring that front foot round to deer pose. In deer pose, taking a breath, breathing in, allowing that rebound. Whatever knee is pointing forwards, take the opposite hand to that knee and just sit up tall. Slight twist into the spine. We're doing what feels good for you here. Breathing out, maybe allowing sit bones to come down. We're going to move to the opposite side, so lifting up to all fours, swapping the legs over. So I'm taking my right forward, sitting down onto my bum, bending into the left. Again, reaching the foot a wee bit away at the back. Take the foot at the front, further round, closer towards you. When you fold over, you'll know if you've gone too far, because as you fold, you'll pull up towards the glutes. If it's too intense, pull the front leg back in towards you, folding over again. Same for you again, Laura. You might wish to have the bolster just to take any pressure off the ankle if it's on this side. So deer pose is really good because you can make it more intense or less intense, all by the positioning of that front foot. If you're in your half frog, you're moving to the opposite side, folding over. You can always prop up underneath the knee if you need to. If you did the twist on the other side. Twisted roots. Perfect. If you're coming out of the twist, you can just hug the knees in towards the chest. I should have said that the first time, sorry. I gave you an option without actually giving you an escape route. For the rest, for everyone else, if you're in the front leg forward or the half butterfly frog, you can bring that knee in towards the body, towards deer, same as everyone else. Sitting up tall, the leg or knee that's pointing forwards, reaching round with the opposite hand. Just a small twist, just breathing in here. Might feel it through the lumbar spine. As you've hugged the knees in. Sorry, twisties, I did forget about you in the last go. Just as well, it's the yogis that know what to do. And then coming out of that, working your way to all fours. If you're in your twists, just take yourself completely flat on your back. If you're in deer pose, moving to all fours, A little bit of movement into the knees, and then taking yourself down onto your back. So our two closing postures are Bananasana on both sides, working into adduction. So adduction on the inside of the body. Laura, don't cross your ankles for this. Just leave them loose at the end. You may even want a cushion for the one that's sore, just in case, or to have something soft and put it onto. But taking yourself down the middle line of the mat. So Bananasana, by its name, suggests you're going to be like a banana. So bend the elbows. Hands can come just kind of above the head, elbows bent out to the side. You can have them further away, but it's going to work into your shoulder joint differently. So have them close to begin with. Take the right foot towards the right edge of the mat. Take the left foot over. Keep the hips in the middle. Keep both hips or both glutes down into the mat. Shake, shimmy, or lift your upper body towards the right side of the mat also. So you start to create a bend and compression through the inside of the body. Once you're here, you can make it more intense or less intense. So you could reach the hands away, creating more of a diamond shape with your forearms and your elbows. If that's too intense and you can't relax in your upper half, take them closer. You can take the legs off, take the shoulders further to the right. You could lift that outside leg on top of the inside leg, on top of on the outside. So the right ankle on top of the left ankle. Or you can do the opposite and lift the left ankle on top of the right. Takes a bit more pressure onto that left side. Wherever you are, finding your banana shape. Remember, not all bananas look the same. So the bend that you have is dependent on where's comfortable for you, and this should be comfortable. Just close your eyes. This is my next favorite closing posture. Well, actually, it's my more favorite. I prefer this to Shavasana. I want to make sure at all times that the left hip or the left side of the body hasn't lifted off the mat. We want to keep it in contact. Keeping the shoulders in contact. Maybe feeling a little compression into the right. Working into the hip joint. One more minute. If you're getting pins and needles in your shoulders or down your hands for any reason, take them further apart. It could be a pinching into a nerve or a blood vessel, and we don't want that. If there's too much pressure having one ankle on top of the other, take them off. Allow the ankles to be loose. And then we're going to take ourselves back into center. So maybe moving the legs first. So taking the left leg towards the center line and the right. And then lift, shake or shimmy the upper body back into center line. Just hold here for a moment. Feel the difference on either side of the body. All the way down the right, from shoulder to ankle. Then taking that left foot off or towards the left side of the mat, right foot to follow. Keep the hips where they are. Keep the glutes where they are. Lift and move the upper body towards the left. Obviously taking the bend as feels comfortable for you. That allows your shoulders and arms to be nice and relaxed. Finding a comfortable position for the head and the neck. Then re-looking at the ankles. Do you want to lift the left ankle on top of the right? Or do you want to lift the right on top of the left? Making a slightly more intense pull. Arms further away, closer to the head. Just hanging out here. And then I'm sorry to say, bringing yourself out of Bananasana. So maybe unhooking the ankles, bringing the feet back into the center. Shake, shimmy, or lift in the upper body. And then just lying here where it feels comfortable for you. We'll have a short Shavasana, really just allowing Bananasana to release out through the body with some length. So if you've got a blanket, you can throw over your toes or your feet. Just a little bit of warmth as we come to finish the practice. Checking in on the ember of the heart. Allowing it to glow with the intention that you took to your practice. Giving it love and kindness. Bringing some movement back into fingers and toes. Bringing the awareness into the whole body. Do what feels nice for you. This is your closing practice. Curl up, stretch out, roll to one side, or stay exactly where you are. No expectations. The practice of yoga is always shared. But ultimately, it's still yours. It's your body. It's your practice. So if you wish to join me in closing the practice with Om Shanti, you can bring yourself to a seat, Or you can allow Om Shanti to wash over you in Shavasana. There's no expectation of you joining. If you are, just finding a comfortable seat for you, having your hands wherever is good, or wherever you might normally for your practice. And we'll close with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So you can take your hands to prayer if it's in your practice to do so. Taking in a nice breath in towards the belly and the lungs. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for sharing your practice with me.